Hey everyone. So this is my first video. I I'm gonna dedicate this channel to AEW. There's a lot of channels out there that cover WWE and maybe like some AEW. I wanna be I wanna be that, but like the other way. Um, a little backstory about my like relationship with wrestling. Um, I was born in '89. I grew up. Uh, my house actually had like a cable dish, and uh, we had a way to get like the expensive pay per views from the '90s. We were able to get that, so steal it, I guess. And but the thing was is that you couldn't get sound with it the way we were doing it. So me and a bunch of friends, would be sitting there watching, whatever WWF pay per view was going on, and you know, the mom comes into the room and she's like, "Hey, do y'all would you like any chips or whatever?" And of course, me and all of my friends go, "Shh," even though the whole thing was muted already. Uh, I don't know. It's a funny story, but um, so for me, like I grew up with it. Um, I remember one of the first Christmases, yeah. I remember the first wrestling game I played was on the Sega Genesis. Uh, WrestleMania, maybe that's what it was called. Uh, I don't know, but I think it was like the arcade game ported to console. Um, but anyways, we knew what we knew what I have a brother. We both knew what our mom got us. We knew she had got us that game specifically, and we didn't want to wait. So they put the presents under the tree, and we knew which one. We knew it. So my dad was also a wrestling fan slash gaming fan, and so and so we all came to the conclusion, we're like, okay, we're gonna open this game and we're gonna play it today, but we will before she gets home tonight, we will wrap it back up. Well, something that we didn't account for is that literally none of us could wrap it up the way she did. Like, I don't know if she had some special way of doing it, but we were looking at it and we're like, shit, man, this this isn't good. She's gonna know. Um, and so, whatever, useless. It was a funny story about wrestling, but uh, for the record, we didn't get caught. We must have done a pretty good job. I mean, I guess to be fair, she wasn't going to come home and like pick up a Genesis game, wrapped in paper wrap, being like, "Okay, all right, it's all good." You know what I mean? So, we got away with that. That was funny. But yeah, so I grew up with it in the '90s. My personal like favorite game of all time, what was slash is No Mercy on the N64. Man, that game just slaps. Uh, so like I played that game religiously. On the N64, there was like WrestleMania 2000, which was great. Um, on the Dreamcast, I don't even know if people know this game exists, but on the Dreamcast, there was a arcade game called WWF Royal Rumble. It had like a full arcade cabinet with like four fight sticks, and man, every time I would go to the local arcade, like I played like three games. I played Royal Rumble. I played a on-rail shooter called Carnival. I think 2 people know that game exists. Um, House of the Dead 1 and 2, like, all the time. I think I said 3, but we're already at like 4 or 5, so disregard the 3 part. They had Primal Rage, the game where monkeys fight dinosaurs. I mean, pretty much that sells it by itself, right? Monkeys versus dinosaurs. That's rad. So yeah. For the record, my channel is called Bong Jovi. That's what I go by. And there's a reason for that, because my whole thing is that, like, I suffer from really, really bad depression, and I've been on so many different pills. I've done ketamine shots. I've done all that stuff, and the only thing that works for me is just weed. It's just the one thing that works. So kind of like my thing is my channel is going to be, I'm going to smoke, and then while I'm in that, like, happy stupor, I guess, I figured I would make content. I've never done it. I'm like 34, I think. Technology is new to me, so I don't know how people have cool little green screens behind them and do all this cool stuff. I'll try to figure that out. But if nothing else, it's like, I don't know, a podcast ? What do you want to talk about? Fucking hate Cody Rhodes. Anyways, yeah, so back to, like, my history with wrestling. So, playing those games on the Genesis, excuse me, sorry, I don't know how to edit either, so, like, that would have been a thing I could have edited out. I don't know how to do that, so, see, there was another one. I had Sonic right before this, and I get, like, Coke and cherry, and maybe I shouldn't have taken, like, huge sips before this, because now I'm probably burping the whole time. Smart. Okay, so, see, and this is the part about the being high, is my brain just, like, is all over the place. So, like, in my videos, it'll be so unorganized. I don't know, maybe that's fun, maybe that's awful. I'm sure the 2 people that watch this will let me know. I'm not gonna like, comment and subscribe. Bro, if you like the stuff, awesome. But I'm not one of those people. I don't know. It's just a fun conversation. I know I'll get the violin out, but I'm like 99% like alone all the time. So I just figured, hey, maybe even for my mental health, it would be cool to, I don't know, do this. But yes, so getting back to the game part specifically, so I had that Dreamcast game. Then I had WrestleMania on the GameCube, which was, like, so dope for me personally, because, like, I don't have to like main card. I always liked tag teams and Intercontinental Champions and all that stuff. So, for me personally, like, my favorites growing up were the Hardy Boys and Kane. I always liked the dark characters, and I'm going to make a separate video later talking about, like, the Wyatt Six and Aleister Black and all that stuff, because, we have new information from TKO about why that happened. So I will definitely make a video talking about that. But back to games. Focus. So yeah, Genesis, that game. And N64, WrestleMania 2000, and No Mercy. Then me and my brother saved up enough money so we got an original Xbox. And my first game I got was WWF Raw. And man, that game sucked really bad. It had good graphics. Like, for me, it was the best, like, intros that were around because they looked pretty good, especially for, like, original Xbox. But man, once you got to the gameplay, graphics can't do all the heavy lifting. So that wasn't good. I had a GameCube, and I had like WrestleMania whatever number on the GameCube. And I remember that was really cool for me because, as I was explaining, I like mid-card and stuff, so it was cool that that was the first time we saw like Rob Van Dam in a WWF product. Because, side note, there was actually an ECW game on Dreamcast, and he was on the cover of it, and it was rated M. That was pretty cool. And then, okay, we're back. So yeah, it was cool playing that on the GameCube because it had like a bunch of new characters. So like, I love Rob Van Dam, the Hurricane, shit like that. And that's where like the roster really started to have a lot of people. Like, I don't know, it was awesome. I loved it. And that game was like pretty much like a sequel to No Mercy. Like, I think it had the super nerdy thing here, but like the AKI system, which was like the game engine that it ran on. So it played a lot like No Mercy. So I love that. Then, I'm sure we all know, PlayStation had the SmackDown games, and those were sick. Those were just sick. They figured it out. I don't know. Gameplay, graphics, they figured it out. Like the PS2 games, I think it was Here Comes the Pain and like Know Your Role, maybe? Question mark? I don't know, but I do remember Here Comes the Pain because that was awesome. It had Brock Lesnar on the cover for like the first time. And so yeah, those games were sick. Then like after that it was kind of weird because like wrestling games just kind of stopped or something. Like, I remember in the 360 period, my favorite wrestling game was called like WWE All Stars. Like, it was a way more arcade version of WWE, and I thought that was super fun because, I don't know, the 2K games just never felt great to me. And so I guess there was SVR, SmackDown versus Raw. Okay, there were those games. Okay, so I do take that back. There's at least those games. But something happened for me personally when it comes to like wrestling in general. I grew up watching the older stuff because my brother was older, and so we had a bunch of like Hulk Hogan and Ultimate Warrior stuff. So I like retroactively went back and watched all that stuff, and it was awesome. And then pretty much then I just kept up with it. Like, I remember doing the Attitude Era. I remember, it was just like so sick. It, Union Underground, the music and everything, it just was like new metal and rad. and I don't know, man, like I had followed it pretty much that whole time. And then the like unbelievable tragedy of the Benoit situation. Once that happened, it was pretty much over, like, for my interest, because that's when they pivoted really hard into the PG era, and like, I just couldn't get into it, man. It just wasn't my style. I found, I know I'm gonna get crucified, but I found John Cena to be boring. He was just, he was basically Cody Rhodes, where like Cody Rhodes is like always the champion. Like, he never loses. So, I don't know. I thought John Cena was, like, super boring. Sami Zayn, super boring. Just a lot of the big guys during the PG era, just, I don't know, man. They just didn't work for me, personally. So, pretty much after, like, 2007, 2008, which is, I think, around when Benoit happened, I pretty much just dropped it. Just, like, wholesale. It just wasn't for me anymore. And, you know, I'm cool with that. Everything doesn't have to be tailored to my preference. But that's when I knew I was like, eh. And there wasn't really, like, another alternative at that point. Like, WCW had died already. I don't even know if ECW was, like, still operating. If it was, like, wasn't very readily available. Like, I couldn't find it. And I was never rich enough to have, like, cable on my own or whatever. So, like, I didn't tune in to channel 13 or something to watch, ECW or whatever if it was on TV. So yeah, like, after that, I just sort of bounced, and that was fine. I did other stuff. I did other useless stuff with my life, like, become a huge gamer and do nothing with my life, which I guess is why I'm sitting here talking about wrestling on YouTube, and probably talking to myself, because, like, I don't even know how to post videos. I'm gonna try. Okay, so, ever since 2007, 2008, there was just, like, a hold period. It just didn't work for me. Excuse me. And then something crazy happened. I was not at the beginning of AEW. I didn't even know it existed. I'm not, like, a social media guy. I wasn't following any, like, wrestling channels or whatever. So I didn't know about AEW. Like, truthfully, I didn't even know its existence. And then the craziest thing happened. And I will say, like, this is not a political channel whatsoever. But I will say I personally am not a fan. And I saw a video of MJF versus Brody King, and the chants were F Ice. And I actually saw that video, and I was thinking, like, if this was at WWE, if there was that chant, it just would have been completely censored on the upload or whatever. Which, funny enough, if you go watch WrestleMania 41, 42, whatever the last one was, if you actually, like, go to the ESPN page or whatever it is to, like, rewatch it, they've already taken out CM Punk's music, like, literally. He came out to AFI when he was just starting out. And I don't know. I don't know what happened copyright-wise or whatever, but they took it out and replaced it with, like, super generic music. And then when the lyrics were supposed to happen, they just cranked up, like, audience volume. That was pretty lame. So yeah, they are definitely no strangers to, like, editing out stuff. And so, like, the fact that I was, like, seeing this on YouTube and it actually, aired on TV, all of a sudden I was like, okay, what is this company? Because for me personally, I was like, whoa, there's a wrestling company that believes in free speech. I was like, that's pretty sick. And I was vehemently against what ICE was doing. Like, again, not going to get into the whole thing, but just, I could not stand what I was seeing in Minneapolis. It's just crazy. So I was very intrigued that there was a company like that. So I looked into it. I was like, what is this? And man, AEW has completely revived my love of professional wrestling. It reminded me why I liked wrestling to begin with. Um, I followed it like to a T as soon as I learned what it was. Um, I've watched every Collision. I've watched every Dynamite. I've watched every pay per view. Like, and I like bought the pay per views on HBO or whatever, and I haven't. I mean, I haven't watched like a paid pay per view since we were stealing it for free in the '90s. It's like that shit was like way too expensive, dude. And like, you had to like what call HBO or something and be like, "Oh, I want to watch WrestleMania or whatever." Dude, I'm old. So yeah, like it was crazy because for the first time ever, I was like, I really sat down and was thinking about it, and I'm like, dude, I just bought a wrestling pay per view. I don't know, it's been decades, and so that was kind of interesting. I was like, huh, I am interested enough in this product that I will actually pay for the pay per views. That's a good start. So I kind of like went back and tried to like retroactively catch up on what were the active storylines. And then the first pay-per-view that I actually like paid for was Revolution. Where it was that is it Revolution 2025? Yeah, question mark 2026. I was going to look on my phone and then I realized I'm talking to it, so but yeah, it was whatever the what was the last one that happened. It had the Texas Death Match with Hangman, Adam Page, and MJF, and that was like the most insane shit I've ever seen in my life. See, I told you I'm not very good at this. I moved and completely fell. I'm good at this. But man, that match was sick. I mean, I don't know if you've seen it, but like MJF had a syringe and like put it in his mouth and poked it through the cheek. And then to like add insult to injury, he like squirted the water inside of it, and it was just, bro, it was wild. It reminded me of like old ECW days where just like, hey, get out the barbed wire and crazy shit, because it's gonna get crazy. And so I kept up with it. You know, I went back and watched the older pay-per-views because I'm here in the US, and like if you have HBO Max or whatever they're calling it now, you can actually watch all their old, not only their old episodes of like Dynamite and stuff, but you can actually watch the pay-per-views. And so I've been watching the pay-per-views because that's usually where storylines like move forward. So I was watching all those, and then Revolution was crazy. It was absolutely crazy. Me and my wife were sitting here watching it. Mind you, here's the crazy part. My wife if I asked her, hey, who is this person? She'd probably be like, oh, that's Hulk Hogan. But that's about it. Like, she's never watched a single episode of Raw, SmackDown. She never played any of the wrestling games. But we are big horror fans. And so I told her, I was like, bro, you got to see this Texas Death Match. Because, like, this is some, like, Hostel level shit. Like, some Saw stuff here. And so, like, I set her down, and I was like, all right, let's do this. Let's watch it. And at a certain point, I looked over at her, and she actually had, like, tears in her eyes. And she said, and I looked over, and I'm like, are you okay? And she's like, this is too much. This is too much. I can't watch this. And I was like, bro, you've watched The Human Centipede, but this is too much? She finally came around, you know, she had a smoke break, and she was like, all right, fuck it, let's finish this. And that match was crazy. I don't even know what else to say besides that. For me, it was a 10 because I'm just like, this is what I like in professional wrestling. For me, something that happened with WWE that just makes it like really, really hard to watch is the amount of promos that they do. So like, and what I mean by that is it's like in a 3-hour episode of SmackDown, between ads and people coming out to the ring with like 2 chairs just to talk about signing a contract or something, or like, oh yeah, I'm gonna beat you, and they go, nuh-uh, sweet, excuse me. And so it was boring. It was like a 3-hour episode, you get like 3 matches, and that just wasn't it. And then like the matches when they would happen, like, to be honest, were like full of botches, and it felt like it was like so scripted that like it felt robotic. Like no one had any kind of, I don't really know how to say it, but like ring awareness or whatever. Like if a botch happens, for example, I have one for you. It was Jon Moxley and Takeshita. They were, they had a 20-minute time limit on their match, and for storyline reasons, it went to a draw. It needed to, for storyline reasons, but when the draw happened, the fans were not super stoked about it. They were booing, and Mox actually like pulled an audible here and went over to the ref and kind of like touched his shoulder and said, "Have him lay me out." And so like the dude got a belt or something and then was in the ring, and when Mox turned around, he just, you know, hit him like unbelievably hard to the point where he fell. And in the span of like 20 seconds, they went from booing to being like, yeah, this is rad. And I don't know, that's that audible you need. I'll be talking about all this stuff in different videos, but Swerve Strickland, he, I don't remember who he was fighting exactly, but the dude was on like the top turnbuckle, and he was just gonna, I don't know, do a elbow drop or something from the top. But when he got up there, he tripped, and so he was kind of, you know, struggling to get back on the top rope. So Swerve, being, you know, ring present, saw that was happening. So he got up really quick, went over to the turnbuckle, and was hitting him a little bit or whatever. And he climbed up to the, you know, second turnbuckle, I think it was, and they were exchanging blows, and he was like, okay, you can push me down now and do your move that you were going to. And it went off like without a hitch. You know, he went up there, they were trading blows, he got pushed down, the guy did his top turnbuckle move, and it was like nothing happened. You know what I mean? Like, there was a botch there, but they picked up on it really quick. I feel like that's just something like, and maybe I'm wrong, but it just feels like that's something like WWE people don't really care about anymore. I don't know. Maybe I'm, you know, making all of this up. But it just kind of feels like the WWE people are like so robotic that it just feels like their energy level is like 20 out of 100, you know, and I don't know. I find the promos to be like really cringy, and then when we finally do get to the wrestling, like, it has a ton of botches. Not always, you know, there's a couple good matches, but more often than not, they're not great matches. And so, going back to AW, the longer this video is going to go, the more my brain's scrambled. I took a couple edibles, and they are now currently hitting. But I mean, at this point, I've only been following AEW for, I guess we're coming up on half a year, close to a year, and I've just become so passionate about it that I'm on YouTube and I'm trying to find people who talk about this stuff, and you have channels like shout out to people like Bobby Monsoon, shout out BC Amplified, stuff like that. Those are more WWE channels, and then they kind of tackle, wrestling news as a whole, and then that's kind of where AEW fits in. I wanted to be the opposite. I saw a lot of people saying, man, I wish there was like an AEW channel. I saw that more than a couple times, and I don't think it was my mom and girlfriend, so I think it was real people. But shit, dude. I need to figure out how to edit, because this is definitely one of those times. Yes. So I guess I saw a space in YouTube for people to, I don't know, just be like, talk about like all the aspects of AEW storylines, matches. And I was like, you know what? I'll try it. I find myself like talking to my friends a lot that don't like wrestling, and so like I try, but they're like, bro, why are you talking to me about this? And I get that. So I don't know. I figured I would do this because AEW getting any kind of exposure I think is great for the just, I don't know, wrestling in general, because I don't know, competition is a good thing for sure. I don't know. I just think competition's good, because if there's no competition, then the other product will get lazy and complacent, and that's not good. So, so yeah, I don't know. This channel will be like just talking about how much I enjoy AEW, and then on the side, if like anything's going on in WWE, I'll have that towards the back end of a video. So, currently, again, I was gonna check the phone, but I am on it. It is Saturday, May blah, 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 something, and Backlash is happening right now. I just saw Danhausen and a YouTuber named Santi, I think, come out in face paint, and it's Kit Wilson and The Miz. And I guess I kind of bounced. I was just like, I don't know. I saw the gingerbread segment, and like, I'll make a video about that, because that deserves its own video. But like, man, the two products are very different right now. And hey, if you like both, like, that's fine. I can see where like people would get enjoyment out of that kind of stuff, and I'm not judging. But I guess I'll just, give my take on this, and we can always like talk in the comments. I'm perfectly fine, talking to people about wrestling, because actually it's something I really enjoy. So, this video is 34 minutes. I don't even know if I can upload that many minutes on a YouTube thing, but I'm going to try, because, I don't know, this will be kind of fun, I guess, for, like, my mental health, I suppose. And, my wife, like, now really enjoys AEW, so, so we'll watch Dynamite Collision or a pay-per-view, and then, I'll start a live stream, and then we'll kind of go over it, because, I don't know, sounds fun. I should probably stop saying, there's probably like 200 of them. I'm not great at this, Um, but yeah, I guess, I mean, for God's sakes, it's almost a 35-minute video. I think you probably get the idea. But yes, I'm also very passionate about horror movies and video games, and my wife does all of that stuff too. And so I figured it would be, a fun conversation. I mean, we're talking about this stuff anyways, and so, I mean, I don't know. I guess why not, like, tape it or whatever, and then we can talk to the whole community about stuff? I don't know, bro. Well, cool. This is my first video. Hopefully this gets to, like, upload properly, and I will officially be a person who's uploaded a video on YouTube. I'm gonna see how this works. Talk to you guys later on the second video. That's 2. Peace.